Hello and welcome everybody to Midweek Matters. I'm joined today by none other than Wade Graham.
Jimmy, how are you, mate? How are you?
I'm all right, mate. Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm a bit deflated as a New South Wales fan, like everyone across the state at the moment. But I suppose, as I mentioned when I came in here, my focus now moves to the other massive sporting event going on, which is the Ashes. And
Oh, you want to talk about that instead? Just
let's talk about the Ashes today
All right.
and the amazing comeback of that day 5 from Australia. I'm sure all the viewers in New South Wales would appreciate that more than this rundown we have in front of us at the moment.
Yeah, well, maybe they would in terms of results, but there's a lot to get through with Origin. So many things to dissect from yesterday's performance, the series as a whole. So we do this thanks to Tui's. They want to know how we feel after last night. But let's roll the credit.
How do you feel, Jimmy? Let's find out. Thanks to Tui's.
Yeah, big shout out to Tui's for supporting this section of the show. But Wade, oh man, where do you even begin?
It's hard.
Why did Queensland win? What's it down to?
Well, like a couple of things for starters. It was always going to be a very hard ask for us to go up, and salvage the series in game 2 at Suncorp. Right, with the change we had going up, it wouldn't have mattered if we had no injuries and everyone fit and available. Still going up to Suncorp to try and salvage the series was always going to be big up. It would have had to been the game of everyone's lives pretty much to get a victory up there. And again, it just looking back on the series, because it is a series, it just highlights how where we went wrong in game 1 and how important game 1 was and the mistakes we made in game 1 to put ourselves in a position where, ultimately the series was on the line last night. And there was a couple of moments throughout the game, particularly early on when the alarm bells, as I was watching, the back of my head started going off. I'm sure we'll get into the 50-50 tries. The biggest one for me was when Stephen Crichton got the intercept, the kick, and he raced away, 80 odd meters. I know Daly Cherry Evans made the tackle, but if you rewind the tape, there's probably 10 Queensland jerseys in the picture, and maybe 2 or 3 New South Wales jerseys. And as well as I know, in big games and the bigger the stage, those sort of pictures, jerseys in the frame, are very telling. So I was sitting at home with my 4-year-old watching that, and the spidey senses in the back of my head was tingling a little bit.
That numbers in the picture is something that a lot of coaches talk about, and for me, it was a great chase back from Cherry Evans, but then Queensland had pretty much all 13 players set.
Yeah.
And even when New South Wales, they shifted the ball, I think it went out to Cook's side.
He had to bounce back in because he felt like he was rounded up on the outside.
Where you'd think a bit more sense of urgency there. Whether or not the New South Wales thought, it's all good, Crichton's going to score and finish this off, but they just weren't quick enough to react just in case. And then
it shows to me like a real clarity and understanding of where their energy needs to be put, right? It's just, like you said, it's a reaction thing.
Just go.
You're not thinking there. You're not stopping to think what could happen, what should happen.
Oh, I'm tired here.
It's just bang, because Crichton reacted too. It was a fifth tackle option, bounced at the ball. It pretty much just stuck into his breadbasket, and he was off. He knew what to do because he had the ball. But then, all the Queenslanders knew straight away what their assignment was.
I've got to get on my bike.
And it was to hustle back.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it showed in that one moment, that one play, that they beat us to the punch. And unfortunately, they've beaten us to the punch in almost every facet over the first 2 games.
Yeah. Well, for me, that sort of next couple of minutes after that, for me, epitomised what Queensland did really well, and they have the ability to do really well. It's to turn defence into attack. So after that play, Cherry Evans, who sprinted probably 120 metres when you consider the angle that he's got to go to cut Crichton off, right? And then all the Queensland players get back. Now, you could understand why that next set, Cherry Evans in particular, just takes a breather, but he doesn't. I think it was either the next play or 2 plays after that, he makes the break off Carrigan.
Yeah.
So those are the special type efforts. It's not just the ability to chase back, it's the ability to repeat doing those things and putting yourself in a position, because most you could forgive him for just hanging out wide and I'm just going to catch my breath here a minute, but he's not. He goes looking for a big moment, and that was what the difference was. Yes, they didn't score off that break that Cherry Evans made, and obviously Queensland didn't react. He was on his own. Great tackle by Tedesco, but bang, next play they do score, and that was the difference. Not the chances, but it's what comes next. At that level of football, you're probably going to need more than one shot. It's not going to be you set up for one play. It's what you do off the back of that, and then off the back of that, and then off the back of that. And it takes so much time and shots to break teams down. And then even the other thing you said about numbers in the picture, we can debate whether Val Holmes scored the try or not.
Yeah.
But if Val Holmes isn't there, Ruben Cotter is next there.
Yeah.
And you see, and New South Wales, you would have thought, would have learnt their lesson from last time out when they got embarrassed by Lindsay Collins.
Yeah.
They got embarrassed by Lindsay Collins. You can imagine the chat would be, boys, last play, your job's not done, especially when you move Cook into that centre. But even if Cook isn't there, you know you've got big man on little man in terms of Xavier Coates going over the top of Josh Adokar. So there's going to be scraps. Like, you'd know, like, there's going to be scraps. Like, you've just got to be there.
Again, for me, it shows just that lack of clarity and that connection and focus where the energy, isn't in the right areas. Because if you are clear and you're focused and you're dialed in, you don't stop the thing. You just do. You just react, and you just, like you said, you keep moving. And you create, if your energy as a team and your connection's in the right place, you're all pulling together the same way, you create energy on the field, the ball bounces your way. You do get the 50-50 course.
You're in the mixer for it.
You're always either in the spot or around the spot. So, again, it was just an example of, Queensland being probably mentally in a better spot than we were. And we talk about, we're going to talk about Queensland and their attack, and obviously New South Wales, attack as well. But it always comes back to your defence. It always comes back to your defence. The Queensland defence in Origin 1, Murray Tuilagi, 2 try savers. And again, the ability for Queensland to absorb the pressure the New South Wales were putting on them. Defend their goal line, turn them away. It then takes the pressure off your attack, because you're not searching for points, because you're defending, you're in the game. It just allows you to move the ball to space, play powerfully, and wait for those opportunities to come up, because you're not searching, right?
Yeah.
It's a kick try. They find some points. Carrigan goes through, finds a little nice offload to Cherry Evans, who's in the right place, working hard. Then it's not a big fancy play.
No,
it's a shift to space, and you let your quality of players
do their magic.
Do their magic. And I know when the game was open, in the back end, we saw a couple of, nice shifts where it was Walsh out the back, beating a bloke back into space. But the ability, what your defence does, if you defend well, turn teams away, it actually takes the pressure off your attack, because you're not searching for anything. You're just playing what's in front of you. You're playing the game, and you're executing your plan, which Queensland had a much different plans than New South Wales. You look at their three, their forwards, particularly Carrigan, Cotter, Flegler, just carry the ball. Where New South Wales, we had Haas carrying the ball, but there was a lot of passing by Isaiah. There's
in their attack.
I think so. I think they were trying to manipulate the defensive line with their passes to make their defensive line work, the way that Penrith do with that passing forward in the middle. But it showed in both these games. It's not as effective as just power running playing the field position and then waiting for those small moments. It was a push. It was a push offload. It was a couple of kick tries. It was an intercept.
New South Wales, for me, their attack looked predictable. Like, even
it's a lot of passing.
A lot of passing, but not necessarily passing is a bad thing, but it just seemed. So I was watching the game, and 39 minutes in, New South Wales get a 6 again, and even before that, they were sending Payne Haas in, and he has 2 play the balls in the final minute. Now, that's not to say that the short balls don't work, or those set-up plays are not necessarily because they are, but it seemed odd that he would get 2 of those, just jam us in Payne for like to lay a line and lay a field position to try and put on a shift. And I think for as great as Queensland's defence was, New South Wales played into their hands. The edges were either super aggressive or they go spook, really aggressive, and then back off and trust their inside. Now, and because seemed to be a little bit more time allowed in the play the ball, when you're defending shape, it's easier to, especially on try line. People look at things like territory, but the goal line attack is actually quite difficult. But you need something other than structure, because players are going to be that.
Yeah, well, the fullbacks in the line, you get one, sometimes you got one marker, so there's 2 extra defenders in the line, and it is hard. And again, like, not taking away anything, or making excuses, but it was a new combination again, like new halves pairing, new hooker. Obviously they would have trained all week for some time. Damien Cook to come into the middle third, and it just didn't go to plan for New South Wales. And then, when you lose that momentum battle, you're already up against it. Then you lose the momentum. Then you're chasing scoreboard pressure. Yeah, it's hard to find the answers on the run. Which again, for me, like, you look at the series and you look back, that's why Game 1 was so important, because if we come away, we get Game 1 done, and we come away with the same game, same result, same way they played in Game 2 at Suncorp, you go, you know what? Wasn't our night. Queensland up at Suncorp, we're always going to be up against it. But now let's go to Sydney and let's see if we can turn it around. And with no scoreboard pressure, with the fans on your side, it's just. And a couple of times over the last few years, I feel like our biggest errors have been in Game 1, and they've proved ultimately that series defining. Yeah,
you speak about scoreboard pressure. It's the first 2 tries which. With the catalyst for that, which, the Val Holmes one, people say, did he, what was it? Was it touched by Coates? What did you make of that? And then what did you make of the question? Well, let's just call it the
pass. It was a forward pass. Let's just call it what it is. It was definitely a forward pass. And then the Val one, I could understand. Downward pressure. Maybe I don't think Xavier Coates touches in there. So that's
play on there, but the grounding.
The grounding was, for me, was 50, suspect. The only thing I would say was I find it hard because Ashley Klein sent it up as no try.
Yes.
So I feel like that should have played in more to the decision, but Atkins didn't think so in the box. But again,
do you think that was that new rule coming into play where you don't have to have full control of the football? Because I've been on the receiving end of one of those, and you're like, that. There's downward pressure there, but he's not in control.
It's the thing is, we could sit and argue about it again, because they are decisions, and sometimes you get them and sometimes you don't. But it's a funny thing to say, momentum and feel. When you're a team in control of the energy, in control of the momentum, in control of your performance and how you're going, the 50-50s just go your way. Yeah. You get the calls. It's because your energy creates other energy. And Queensland have shown that in spades throughout the first 2 games.
But it could be argued that if it's 0-0 after, or 0-0 at half time.
Well, it could be, but we'll never know. We'll never know. It could be, yeah. And that's what I'm saying. We can look at what could be and what could
Yeah.
have been. But if New South Wales Energy possibly was in a better spot, or Queensland was a little bit less, maybe the calls do go our way.
Yeah.
It's just momentum in a game is so hard to explain. It's so filthy. You got to be out there and you got to understand what it's like to know it. And
Yeah.
it's amazing how often it happens that you see teams with the energy and the effort and the connection that Queensland have, numbers in the picture, all working towards things, and the calls just go your way, and the bounce of the balls just go your way, and it's always what could have been if it didn't go your way, but it's.
And like you said, for me, the highlight of Queensland's performance was the ability to turn defence into attack. They did that consistently. One way, and that's when things are going good for you. You're feeling good. You go above and beyond, and it's hard, but you don't even know it's hard. You're just doing it,
yeah.
and you don't even almost have time to think that how tired you are or how fatigued you are. You are just going. When you're in that zone, it's a special place to be, and that's what it looked like Queensland were doing yesterday. But one way to turn momentum is to look to your bench. And I think New South Wales went with a two-hooker strategy. They didn't go with that in game one. They went with more of a genuine utility-style player in Nico Hines. They changed that. I think, basically it was to bring Cook into the game. So for me, I know Freddie's defended his switch, but I don't know, Wade. In that situation, you'd know what coaches would be like. Okay, well, we're going to go the two-hooker model, but then the obvious question then comes, what are we going to do if the fullback goes down? Or what are we going to do if the centre goes down? Or what are we going to do if the winger, all the outside backs, how are we going to cover this? It's hard for me to imagine, and I know Freddie said it where, Cookie was told he might have to play a bit of centre, where he's not just gone, or someone's not gone, hang on, if the whole point of bringing him in was to
play the two-hooker role. Yeah.
Play the two-hooker role. So maybe if New South Wales lose a couple of players, but for me, the obvious choice is we put Cameron Murray in there or Isaiah Yeo. So, you're probably not going to get have as much in attack and free the Fox up, but the whole idea of the plan was to go through the middle of the field with Cook. And you completely negate that.
Yeah, I agree. I would, and even you could put Hudson Young there, right? Like there's not much, a whole lot difference between left edge back rower and left edge centre, right? It's two defensive plays over. You're on that edge. You're still working out of the backfield the same way. That for me would have been, the decision. I think that I would have made is to have either Keir Murray go into the back row and put Hudson Young in, or Isaiah Yeo to the back row and. Or leave Hudson Young there and put Keir Murray straight in the centre because he's versatile enough and he's got the footy nous enough to know what he's doing out there on the field, and it keeps that original plan intact. You could bring Cook on, to play that double,
especially the fact that Murray didn't get on till so late. I think he only played.
And you never know. You never know what. I know Keir Murray's struggling with his groin, so you never know how much training he did throughout the week. You never know if there was a worry or a question mark around him. Moving on, what minutes he could play. He's having a 80% Keir Murray, 90% Keir Murray who can play, 25, 30 minutes for you, better than not having him in the team. With the rotation.
I've not thought of that, mate.
You never know how Cam's actually gone and how fit he was. He certainly looked good when he came on eventually in that middle. He was, he's so good because he challenges the tackles and defenders either side of him. He always has support and he's got a quick play of the ball, which allows, again, it would have allowed, Robson or, Cook, if that was the plan, to just challenge to keep challenging the tackle and defensive decisions on the back of quick ruck speed. But the logical decision for me, if everyone was 100% fit, would have been, Cam straight in the centres, Cam into the back row and Hudson Young into the centre, and it allows Cook to, still have an opportunity to execute the plan that was in place, if in a perfect world everything went to plan.
Yeah. So moving forward, there's a couple of things I want to ask you before we well, going into game 3, is it time for Freddie to move on?
I think, they'll have to look at everything, right? It's just back-to-back series where we haven't succeeded, and it's such a, everyone's invested in Origin, so the result matters for everyone. There's no doubt they'll do a review, of everything, their camps, teams, staff, performance staff. That's what they have to do. Like New South Wales, that department, they have the job for 12 months and they gear up for this Origin period. So a lot goes into it, and there's no doubt there'll be a massive review after everything's done and dusted, because that's just where it needs to go. I'd be interested to hear Freddie and what he has to say after the Origin series is finished and he's had a time to reflect on it, because there's no doubt over his time coaching Origin, particularly this series, every interview he seems to have an edge about him, and he seems not that he's feeling the pressure, but he's a bit snappy and a bit hard to the media, and he looks like
he's changed his tune a little bit, hasn't he? In terms of opening the doors, letting everybody in to then that closed off.
That's exactly where I was leading with this, because when Freddie took over, so I had Laurie to begin with at the start, then Freddie took over, I had my ACL, so I missed the first series. And then he called me into camp midway through his second year. And that was the first time I got to play under Freddie, and his whole, sort of mantra around camp with the media to the players was, we're giving them access to everyone, and everyone's going to be upfront and honest and interact with them and do the right thing, because you're not take away that you're talking to someone in the media, like they're just there doing your job. You're talking to New South Wales fans. You're talking to the supporters. So don't feel like it's a burden or an obligation that you have to do your media every day. It's the biggest event in the Australian sporting calendar. So you're talking to the New South Wales fans, and I feel as if, particularly the last couple of times, and I don't watch a whole heap of the media surrounding it, but he has been a little bit chippy and a little bit intense and a little bit of standoffish and protective. So I wonder, I'd be interested to hear what Freddie has to say in reflection after, and because there's no doubt, he's a competitor. He's as big as a competitor that the game's ever seen. That's why he's had so much success as a player and success as a coach. And sometimes when you are competing, you can lose track of things a little bit, and it takes a bit of time after the heat of battle's over for you to sit down and honestly reflect on how you're going, how you're traveling, the things that you've done. Could I have been better? Did I make some mistakes? So the biggest watch for me would be waiting to hear from him once the emotion and the pain's out of it. Because there's no doubt, as you said, it's a different demeanour to the Brad Fittler that had success early in his Origin coaching.
It'd be interesting to hear from him what's behind that change, why such a not just a 180, but a complete and utter almost throw the baby out with the bathwater. Now we're going a completely different direction, and even hearing Billy Slater talk, he's like, this is about the 5 million Queenslanders. This is for every single one of them. Daly Cherry Evans as well. He backs up on that. It's all about the connection to the community. And I know Freddie does so much with his Hogs for Homeless.
Yeah, he does
and
heaps.
Stuff like that. He does so much work in the community. He's not just the New South Wales coach. He's an actual leader of the state of New South Wales. But it did seem a strange approach.
Well, it's just, there's a difference, right? And it's noticeable. I definitely can notice it, because I know I've been involved with him in those camps before, and it's always been an open door policy, and smile on your face, tell speak the truth, speak from your heart, accept everyone in, and get on with your job, because that's right. You're talking to supporters and you're talking to the fan, but there's certainly no doubt over the last series that it's taken a little bit of a toll on him in his emotions, because you can see it's visible when he speaks.
We're going to take a quick break from the podcast to tell you about AG1, the daily foundational nutritional drink with all your needs in the one place. I like to look after my health, and AG1 takes care of that for me. No more tablets, vitamin pills, all the health nutrition I need, all in the one place. Every single morning, it's as easy. Open up the fridge, scoop of AG1 in a glass, cold water, stir it with a fork, drink it. It tastes great, and it helps me know. It gives me the peace of mind that all my nutritional needs are taken care of, all in the one drink. It really is as simple as that. And also, anybody that knows anything about health benefits knows that it comes with adding simple routines to your day. It's not about magic pills. They're not going to work. AG1 helps me be the best version of myself by having this new habit of every single morning having that drink. I know my nutritional bases are covered thanks to AG1. A lot of athletes are now taking AG1, and with 75 high quality ingredients, it's no wonder why. If a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplement routine, then try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase. Go to drinkag1.com/buyround. That's drinkag1.com/buyround. Check it out. I've got a bit of a suggestion, and if this is, the writing's not completely on the wall, and Freddie may continue on, but if he decides to stand down or New South Wales decide to go a different direction, and I know these two guys have been at each other's throat over the past couple of weeks, but I think the Johns brothers could do an amazing job. Like, put those two in and get them to rally the state. I think the state would get behind them, and I think that's what Queensland, not that it's about copying what Queensland do, but I think if you got those two involved, they'd be able to galvanise the state, get everybody in New South Wales behind them. Yes, they work on both sides of the media, so they can control the narrative about, let's not get after selections. Let's pull everyone, we're all going together on this. I think those two would be amazing for New South Wales.
Yeah, I'm not going to dive into, who could take on the role, because Freddie's still there for me, and I know, and like I said, I've been involved with the camp and the team before, not too long ago, right? So I know the setup, but I'd be interested to hear them after the emotion and the dust has settled, and see how their reflection goes, and what they come up with, and just on the Johns brothers, how it sits at the moment. The first job would be to get them talking again before they think about. It's
not the first time they would have fallen out. It's probably not the last. I reckon this is a fart in a hurricane. It really is.
Yeah.
They'll be fine. They'll be fine. Well, siblings fall out, mate. You got your two lads. They're going to fall out. It's not going to be the first. Not going to be the last. Maybe they can have a little charity boxing match before it. Get it all sorted. Get the guys at no limit. I'm talking about the Johns brothers, not your two lads, by the way. Get the guys at no limit to get that one sorted, and then let's raise each other's arm in the ring. Real feel good story. The Johns brothers, they love each other.
You could be onto something there.
Maybe that could be all part of the theatre.
Yeah.
But in terms of this group of New South Wales players, it was interesting to hear Ryan Girdler's comments, and that connection to the team and the connection to the state. He had this to say post game after up in Brisbane yesterday.
The thing I like about the Queensland camp, it just doesn't look like an R&B film clip. And I think sometimes, and sometimes you go, and I speak to a lot of people in New South Wales, they see the shots that come out and all that, and it's hard for people to connect with what's going on in camp with New South Wales. It really is.
Yeah.
You see clips coming out on social media from both camps, and a lot of people resonate with the way Queensland, they prepare, they go about their business, and the way that they respond and the respect they show the concept. Not that New South Wales don't, But when you sometimes look at New South Wales, they're doing things that I'm thinking, oh, gee, I wouldn't like to be in that environment. You know, I wonder how the whole team responds to certain situations that they're put in by individuals in that team doing it the way that they want it to be done.
It's pretty stern words from Gerds there, isn't it? About, you know, probably the lack of connection and him saying he wouldn't want to be involved in that or he wouldn't connect to that.
Well, again, like when you have results like this, you know, everything comes under the microscope. Everything, you know, like if the shoe was on the other foot and Queensland, you know, New South Wales had won, you know, there could be comments like, or maybe Queensland too serious, looking like New South Wales, they're having too much fun. Like you're always going to be put under the microscope, and this is a consequence of not getting the result done. The way you carry yourself in camp, the way the team prepares, you know, what you're doing is all going to come under the microscope. And I think as, you know, NRL players, but these are elite. These are the best of the best, the elite of the elite. They understand what comes of it, and they understand that if you don't perform and you don't get the results, you know, everything comes into question. And again, we just spoke about it a little bit before about that connection and, you know, the focus and, you know, Queensland played like they all knew what was going on and they were all going in the same direction. They were all humming from the same page. And New South Wales, I know there was injuries and I know there was changes, but we just didn't have that same level of connection. We had a lot of guys out there, you know, trying their butts off. Like effort, there's no doubt about effort at this level, but you can't do it on your own. You need a team. You need a connected team. Yeah. And somewhere along the lines, this season, Queensland got it right, and we didn't get it right. And the stuff that Gerd spoke about will no doubt be looked at. When I said before about you know, New South Wales doing a review, I'm talking they'll review everything. It'll be hotels, camps, dates, food they ate, where they went, promos, sponsors. Like it's that big of an event, and you do have a lot of obligations as a player when you do enter Origin camps. And again, like there will be a total review of how the camps are run and everything. And as Gerd said, like that'll be for sure, you know, a talking point. Did it affect our team in a negative way or our preparation in a negative way? But the concerning thing for Gerd's, like the way Gerd said it, was that, you know, he talks to a lot of other New South Wales supporters and they don't have a connection.
Do you think it's the fact
they feel like
that
they don't have a connection?
Yeah.
So, you know, again, you know, the first point asterisk on the to fix up list would be trying to build that connection back to have New South Wales supporters fully invested in the team and ready to go to battle and defend the team when things don't go out. Because at the moment, there's plenty of supporters ready to tear them down and get this player out or get this player in or do this, do that. It's like, you know, when you have a genuine connection, I think as a supporter and a fan to the team, if they're going in the right direction, even if the result doesn't go their way or it goes down to the wire, you know, when we get beat right at the bell, you go, oh, well, you know what, they played hard. And
they played for us.
And we'll back them and they played for us. So that would be, it's evidently the most important thing that I would be putting at the top of the page on my review is we need to somehow grow this connection between our supporters and this New South Wales teams again, so we can get up there and put it back in its place and have that pride restored in the jersey, so we can get out there as supporters and get behind the team.
Do you think some of it comes from perhaps that Penrith have such a strong contingent of players in this New South Wales team, and you know, rightly so, they've been the best team in the NRL for 3 seasons now. You know, 4. 3.5 seasons. Now they have a strong representation due to the quality of player, but that Penrith team isn't liked by other fans of other clubs. So a lot of fans, they don't like what they've seen. And this isn't me saying this. This is, you speak to supporters of other clubs. and they don't enjoy the Panthers. They might enjoy watching them play and appreciate some of the players, but their identity is not liked by fans of New South Wales. Now, when those players come, do you think that they're an easy kick down? And they've certainly, like Jerome Luai is one of those Penrith players. He put a post on social media last night, which certainly isn't going to help that, and it's not going to help his cause. When we speak about connecting to the community, what he said last night is the complete opposite.
Yeah, I've seen obviously I've seen the post just blown up a bit this morning, and I do feel for him a bit, because I know what's gone through his head when he's posted that. He's obviously hurt emotionally from the game, and then he's jumped on his phone, and there's no doubt a million naysayers, attacking him again, and whether you say it doesn't affect you or it does, reading it and having people into you about your performance and who you are, whatever, it's never good, and that's hurt him again. So he's doubled down on that emotional hurt, and so that was him trying to emotionally hurt some people back. That's all that was, and I think there's no doubt the execution of it, the timing of it, and what we just spoke about trying to have that connection with fans, because even if they were like the fans that say that weren't into him or were happy they did have a connection, even if they were Penrith fans, would know now that he's just gone a little rung lower because he just didn't execute the way he was feeling, and that was just an emotional reaction for sure. And I can understand that not being completely in control of, because Origin it whacks you, I reckon even harder emotionally than physically. But it was. I think if he had his time again, he would want that back. Yeah,
he certainly would, and I think I know what he's trying to say. I really do know what he's trying to say. But there's a time and a place for that conversation, and it's almost. Sorry, I'm just gonna look something up about.
While you do that, I'll go back. We'll come back to it, because I wanted to talk about. I know you said about the Penrith connection, and you think because of the way they are, they've been the best team. They are young and brash and confident, and can rub fans the wrong way. I would just say, but Queensland certainly had their fair share of dominance and success against other teams when, the Billy Slaters and the Cameron Smiths were playing for Melbourne, or when the Broncos were in, their days. That would have rubbed their fans, even their other Queensland fans, the wrong way for sure. The way they went about things and how dominant they were. But I'd probably say that once they were in that maroon jersey, I think all that went away for the whatever period they were there for, right? Because there's no doubt when the Broncos were dominating, certainly when I was growing up, I don't think anyone liked the Broncos. Well, certainly not from New South Wales. And there would be even other Queensland, North Queensland players who weren't in the Broncos system or had to get down, put down in Melbourne when Melbourne first came out. They didn't like the Broncos, the way they went about things, just because they were so dominant. But then when they entered camp for Queensland, it was a different story, right? Because it was.
But there seems to be a bit of a different attitude of acceptance from Queenslanders to oh no, you're one of us now. Where I don't feel New South Wales people feel that, okay, well, I hate you at Penrith, but you're one of us now. And I think there's that. But basically, I think what I'm trying to say is that one of the poems or the quotes from Luai, instead of saying it like that, I think one of the quotes people say is it's better to try, and there'll always be the naysayers, but at least you had a go.
Better to try and fail.
Better to try than fail than not try at all. I'll figure it out and whatever. But we're talking about the connection to community. Queensland seem to have it. New South Wales don't, and it'll be interesting to see the response from New South Wales fans when we go out to Homebush for Game 3, and just how passionate and supportive of their team they're willing to be, because it doesn't seem like there's much love for the Blues. And again,
it's an opportunity to start, right? Game 3 is an opportunity to start, and then even if we say you know, if we say that lack of connection is the most important thing, right? Well, there's an opportunity to, to address that almost straight away with this current group of players, whether the team is a pick, even with with the staff that are in there right now. You know, the way they carry themselves in the camp, the way they answer questions in the media, the way that Jerome, eventually answers the question about the social media post. Like, you can almost start straight away. There's no hiding. There's no hiding away from the facts that Queensland dominated the first two games, and that's how we got to start with the New South Wales fans. Yeah, we got it wrong. We got to take ownership for it. We got it wrong at some stage. I in my prep somewhere, in my headspace, getting ready for the game, and definitely in my performance, I got it wrong. But you know what? I apologise for that, but I'm trying my best moving forward. I'm going to try and start in game 3 and show we need to start trying to build that connection to get some to get the train going back in the right direction, because at the moment it feels like it's getting worse and worse.
What's the priority? Game 3, win or build for next year?
A bit of both. You don't want to ever have a whitewash against your name, that's for sure. The teams and the contest should be too evenly matched for a whitewash in the series. With one game in Suncorp, one game in Sydney, and obviously the neutral venue. Like, even in Queensland years of dominance, what was it, 11 or 12 out of 13, 14 years, and they had arguably one of the greatest teams ever assembled. 3 or 4 immortals are going to come out of that. I don't think maybe there was one whitewash. So it was still enough ticker and still enough ability from the New South Wales team to win a game, or to I don't have the stats in front of me, but I still remember a lot of those games coming down to a decider.
Yeah.
So there's no doubt, regardless of the team and what's written on paper, there's enough closeness in the competition and in the spirit of each team to get a result to go your way. So we need to be searching for a result, a win for the state. But there is no doubt an opportunity to look to the future, and I know they've already started. Young Reece Robson, debuted. Big Stefano from the Tigers debuted. So if they're somewhere, if they're the sorts of players that New South Wales is seriously considering, having in the team in a main, for the next few years, will they stay for sure? And there's an opportunity to blood some other guys.
What do you think about Tedesco?
I think he's earned the right, I think, to finish. If the coaches were going to go to another direction, I think you're not going to rescue the series, by making a drastic change like that anyway. And I know there is building to the future, but with someone like him, he was the Blues' best player. Brad Fittler medal 3 years in a row, and I think that sort of service deserves for him an opportunity to go out in front of his family and friends at here in New South Wales. And there's short memories, and there's looking to the future, and then there's a way to do things. And I think if it was to be his last game and they were going to move in a different direction, I think he has an opportunity. As captain, he's captained the last 10 games. To finish up in front of his family and friends at home.
So for me, I feel for Tedesco, because I just think he's out of form.
Yeah. Well, if he comes out next year at the start of the year and the Roosters are flying and he's top of the Dally M points, you're telling me you're not going to play him?
Yeah. I think that the criticism of him is far too reactive and far too harsh. I think he's out of form. I think he's tired. He's had a huge 2 or 3 seasons with the World Cup, where he's captain Australia, captain New South Wales, captain of the Roosters. The Roosters aren't playing well. He's not playing well at the moment. He's under all sorts of pressure. I just think, for me, looking at him in the press conference yesterday, just like he needs
there's a lot on his shoulders.
A break.
There's a lot on his
just
shoulders,
needs a break. And it's hard when you I know what it's like when you're in that position and people are telling you, mate, just have some time away. And no, I just want to work harder. Hard work will solve it. Hard work will solve it. Hard work will solve it. I've always worked hard. And James Tedesco was an effort player. Works his balls off. Covers every blade of grass. But it just seems to me as if he might be best served just to have a little break away from the game. And I think his club and state would benefit from it. But most importantly, he'd benefit from it. It's hard to say.
It is hard to say.
It's hard, so it's easy for me to say, but it's hard to take in. That is a hard action to take for an individual that's so proud, that's done so much in the game.
It's a hard. It is because, like you said, like it's easy for us to say, but then if you're in that position, if we're in his position, we know like what's got you here, what gets you through everything. It's hard work, it's more work. It's not shying away from the challenge. It's looking at the challenge in the eye and going, well, let's go like, me or you, pretty much.
Yeah.
And
like it wouldn't surprise you if he's out doing a conditioning session right now.
And that's
going,
the thing, if you don't have that in you, you never get to the heights that he's got to, right? And then all of a sudden you try to say, well, we need to take it back and you do need a spell. It's one of those never-ending arguments, right? But you're right. He's had a lot on him, particularly this season. Like he won the World Cup for Australia, comes back. Roosters don't start the season well, so he wears a lot of that responsibility as captain, and then goes into the state system. The state isn't playing well, so he wears doubles down on that responsibility. And the Roosters will no doubt do their best to give him an opportunity to have a break, send him away on holidays with his family, have a couple of times away. But there's the physical break, but it's the trying to get the mental break, because you just
mental and emotional break.
You can never just. It's hard to switch off. Like it's when you're at that level, you care so much, you invested so much in it. Everyone is invested in you. It's hard to switch off. So I do feel for him, but. Yeah, the answer to your question is, regardless of what happens moving forward, I think he deserves an opportunity to play Game 3 in Sydney. And then what will be next year, what will be? Because there's a lot of water to go under the bridge from now until then.
Because it seems to, I imagine Latrell will be available. But again, it's another Penrith player, but Dylan Edwards, he can't do much more in terms of his efforts and what he puts into that Panthers team each and every week. But it's it's hard, man. Like how many changes do you make?
It's like again.
Do you bring Nico back into the picture? Does Hines come back in? Does Mitchell Moses keep his spot?
I think Mitchell's pretty good, to be honest. Like he was trying his best. In a very tough environment to play. He kicked okay. He offered a couple of questions with his running game early, and then when the momentum started to roll around, it's hard to play off the back foot regardless. But I thought he was okay. I thought he was one of our best. It's hard. Nico's my teammate, and I see him every day at training, so I'll back him forever, right? And I think he could actually complement a half. Nico's got a lot of pressure on him at the Sharks because he wears number 7, but he plays like a 6 or a fullback. Like him, Moiser and Will Kennedy, you could almost interchange their roles the way they play, and they're so free flowing over the field because that's our style. That's how we play. Where I think if he was to be with a genuine organising 7 at that level, who sort of gets the team around the park, you would see him go to even another level because he would be similar to Cameron Munster, who he just plots around the field, waits for his opportunities, counts numbers, has a crack at the space, doesn't get a result, but he challenged the right space, right? Because he had the opportunity, so he looked dangerous. Plays the ball, plods around. Opportunity again, more space, more numbers advantage. Oh, I'll have a crack at that. And it's just where he comes to the top because he knows what he's looking for. He knows how to count numbers. He knows when there's a guy out of play. That's what he does, and he floats both sides of the field.
Yeah, Nico's got a good read of the game. Like Cameron Munster, he just reads it well. I'll tell you what, speaking of Cameron Munster, there was a kick that went into the in goal yesterday, and he's just back there. He knew where the ball was going. He read that situation.
See, again, like, you could almost interchange Cameron into a 1, or definitely a 1. We've seen him excel there anyway. But you could put a 7 on his back and you still know he'd go well, right? That's when you know they're the real good players, because like, who understand the game and understand about numbers and counting numbers and the momentum and playing on the front foot, because they could play any role on the field, left or right, at the back, both sides of the field. The only reason we put them on a side of the field is because one's a left footer, one's a right footer, right? So it makes it an easier kick in the last play. That's the only reason they get put on a side of the field. But those guys, that's why I think, I think Nico could, if he had an organising 7, he would excel at Origin level, because he would be able to just play to the space and wait for his opportunities. And then if there was no space, well, then you just play off the 7. You just play out the back of the 7 and link up with your 1.
So you'd go Moses and Hines, I'm guessing,
I'd go,
game 3?
Moses,
Moses and Hines.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting, just, like I say, take the emotion out of the occasion now, see what Freddie does these next couple of weeks.
The next few days, the next few days will be, because it's the most talked about thing.
And he's got to front up as well. Like,
everyone's got to front up. That's the thing. There's no hiding away from it.
No.
You need to front up. You know you're under review. You know what stage you're on. So I'd be really interested to see, like, listen and see over the next couple of days where the headspace is at. And then look forward to game 3, because hopefully we can salvage something out of it. Even if it's the series is gone, we can get a victory for our fans. I might even come along and watch that one in person.
I'll be there for sure. One guy that won't be, Tommy Turbo.
Yeah, devastating for him. Devastating for him. He's worked so hard through the start of the year. You could tell when he came in, he just wasn't quite right, quite 100%, and he was just searching for his mojo. But he was grinding away. He finally got back there, and then
it was nothing. It was nothing.
He's just starting to come good for Manly too, right? He's just starting to find that form, and then in the opening 2 minutes,
mate, it's a nothing tackle,
just over the top.
It's bizarre to watch that tackle and think the guy's got like a season-ending.
Well, he knew straight away too. You knew. I think Teddy came over the back and asked him, because he tore his left one before. He's tore his left one before, and then he seen him straight away say, "No, I'm gone. I've torn my pec." Jumped up straight off the field. So, shattered for Tommy. He's such a. I don't know if you saw the scenes of him in the dressing shed with his dad.
No,
it's pretty. He's emotional about it, and it's just. Again, for him, like, the fallout now is he's got the injury. He feels like, he would feel like he let the team down because he got hurt. Like, you never mean to get hurt, but you're still in your competitor's head. You feel like, I let the team down because I got hurt. And now he goes back to Manly and he can't play for the rest of the season. So then that compounds and doubles down again. So he's got a good family, but they'll be around him, over these next few days. And unfortunately for him, it's restart the process. Probably depending on the severity of surgery, maybe not surgery, rehab starts again, and you start back on that track of what's next. When's that next goal of being able to return to train? When's the next goal of being able to return to play? And it's disappointing for him because he has had, a rough couple, probably 12 months with his body.
Yeah. Oh, mate, and some.
Yeah.
And some. But I think it's important that, for all the criticism that's coming in for all these players, this is just segueing off the back of the Tommy stuff, that remembering that we are all people as well. Like seeing Damien Cook at the end of the game with his baby, it's like, okay, we come for criticism for these players, and that's part of what they sign up for, but they're people at the end of the day too, and even players that you might not like and you might not agree with what Luai says, but let's treat them respectfully, because they are just people. And Tommy Turbo, for most people listening to this, they would think, well, he's got a great life, but this another injury can put you in a horrendous headspace, like a horrendous headspace where you just, it's really important that all the players get the support that they need to go on to improve and be the best version of themselves
Yeah.
moving forward. Because most important, like New South Wales need that as well. They need, like, whether or not you like a player or not, you like what they've done, you need those players playing well for all sorts of different reasons. But with Tommy specifically, like, it's just been like for such an amazing talent. An injury that wouldn't even, probably not even come into his head, that he'd be thinking about the hamstring, the knees.
Well, this is his life, right? This is his life. I know.
Devastated for him.
Ultimately, we're all invested emotionally to the sport because we love it, and to this game because it's the biggest thing on our calendar in New South Wales and Queensland, and even other parts of Australia. That's how big State of Origin is, and the result means so much to a lot of people. 100%, no doubt, but it means just as much to the players. And when things like this happen, we can debate, the Luai, how he, the Instagram post or Turbo's injury, how they're feeling, but no one feels it more than the players. Like this is, it may affect some people's days or weeks, or your emotions. It may affect people's emotions, but these are players' lives. Like this is their life. It affects them the most because it's what they put in. They get up every day and train and work out and prepare and set goals to chase this. And when you have the setbacks, it affects you for sure.
Yeah. And I know the fans are the counter argument is, well, the fans they'll support the Blues this year, next year, and long after you retire. But fundamentally, for a player, this is their life's work.
Yeah, 100%.
It's their life's work. This is what whether you like it or not. And I tried to transition out of that, but that was my life's work. And it will be for all those people. So there's nobody hurting more. There'd be people pissed off today, but there'd be no one hurting more than those people inside that camp.
It's funny, like when you say your life's work, it's true. It's true. Every little success along the way is like a little bit of a relief and a little bit of validation and a little bit of pride about, you've set yourself a goal. I remember I set my goal as a 13-year-old. I would have been 13. I would have been 12 or 13 when I actually seriously said in my own head, this is what I'm doing, this is what I want to do, and I'm going after it. And I remember catching the bus and train before school to go and train, and then going to school all day, and then catching the train and bus to Penrith, and then catching the train and bus home. I'd leave home at 5 a.m. in the morning to train twice, and then school in the middle, and then get home at 8:30 p.m. and then do it again the next day, just because that's it. It's your life's work. So every opportunity you have, success you have, your first rep jersey, your first grade jersey, your first State of Origin jersey, your first, Australian jersey. It's for you. It's relief and validation for yourself that all this work and all this effort has paid off, and I've achieved it. And then it's for your family who were there for all the sacrifices all the time. And it is players' life's work. This is their life's work.
Joe told me that.
I know you're going to say, because it's he's fully tapped, but it's true. It is true. It is.
It was.
Cam McInnes, yeah.
That's how he summed it up to me in a conversation. And what? It's one of the, life's a bit of a blur, and my football career is a bit of a blur with a few things standing out. And that's a conversation that I reckon I'll carry to the grave.
Yeah, it's
where you go, when something hits you, and he's like, he said it to me just casually, this is my life's work. It's like, holy.
100%.
It resonated with me. I was like, geez, Cam.
That's where, when we talk about the transition out of the game, and I'm getting there too, right? So I'm starting to think about life after footy and that as well. But it's sort of that's where the biggest part of the hardest part of the transition comes from. It's because I've dedicated myself to this one thing for so long, and I don't think anything's going to be able to replicate the same amount of dedication and how much want and desire that you put into this one thing. So then it's when it does come to an end, because it comes to an end for everyone eventually.
Well, people will say I heard some quote from some American basketballer or something saying no, if I don't succeed as much in my life after sport, then that's a real failure. And I'm like, no, this should be what you're remembered for. It's incredible.
Yeah.
This should be. Yeah, obviously people are going to coach and stuff, but it's not you've got your youth. All that dedication, it should mean everything to you.
100%. I agree.
Because it will be what you're remembered for. And like I say, I'm trying to get out of that a little bit, but like I know the dance. I'm not stupid.
Yeah.
Like I know what's got my foot in the door. Like through rugby league. And look, I think that basically the message is, I know the fans are hurting, but like as an Englishman, you need to get behind these players.
Yeah, and I think hopefully it starts almost straight away for this game 3. We salvage as much as we can, whether it, whatever the team decides and the staff, whether it's the connection or just the result, or if it's blooding guys for the future. We need to have some goal for game 3, and there's an opportunity to go again. Right now. Yeah.
All right. So one guy that doesn't want to be here in New South Wales is Dragons halfback Benny Hunt. He said, despite the rumours of the Bulldogs, he actually wants to go back to Queensland. He wants to go home there. What are your thoughts on that as well? Just breaking news: Justin Holbrook has parted ways with the Titans, and Des Hasler will take over in 2024. No word on who the interim coach will be, but that's huge news.
Breaking. Well, not Benny Hunt's not so breaking, but the Holbrook, hot off the press. It's a big decision. I think, there's probably been speculation for a while now, just because the inconsistencies in the Titans, and again we talk about the Origin series being reviewed, like high performance environment, results are everything. Results. Get you your job and guarantee you your job. But it's a big decision for the Titans, to part ways. And obviously there must have been some work on in the background for them to announce that and then have Desi already lined up, ready to go. So they've managed to pull that one off. I feel like it sort of weighs into our next question too with Benny Hunt. It would seem that if he wants to return to Queensland, Titans would be one of the options available to him.
Titans are the only one. So you've got Brisbane, no. Brisbane, no. Dolphins Wayne Bennett said no. They've got young Katoa there. And then the only other team is the Titans or the Cowboys.
So it's it. Well,
and I think, am I right in thinking if he went to the Cowboys, he'd be further away from home than he actually is now?
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. Maybe. So really, realistically, Titans sounds like it could be the only option. So I wonder. There's a bit of water to go under the bridge. I'll just say I can't see the Dragons letting go of Ben Hunt without a fight. I know Shane Flanagan personally. Obviously, I played under him for 8 or 9 seasons at the Sharks, and I get the argument. Why would you not want a player who's not fully committed there? Like, it's not a good look, and I just get someone in who will. But for starters, there's not many quality ones out there. Like, who are you going to replace Ben Hunt with if you do let him go? Like, that's got to come into the equation. Flannel would still back himself to have a chat with him and to work through a process, and let him get his wait and see. Let me coach this team with you around it, with you as a centerpiece, as our rep player, as our captain, and see if I can not change this environment more for I would see Flano backing himself to be able to try and persuade Hunt that way. So it's I still think if I was a Dragon, purely from a football perspective, there's no way I would let him go. Benny Hunt's my mate. But from a club perspective and trying to improve that footy team, you don't improve it with Benny Hunt going. You actually talk about going backwards and rebuilding.
For me, the Dragons have just got to come out and say we win. I don't care what happens. I don't care if he stays or goes, but we win.
Yeah,
we don't lose. And if it's a win-win situation, then that's fine.
Yeah,
but we win.
Yeah,
and that's what comes first. And we need a position of power where it's like, well, we're not a club that if you don't want to be here, then get out the door. See you later. But in a winning situation, we need something in return. We're not just going to be the type of club you can just come and knock on our door and say the contract means nothing. So for me, in terms of the number 7s, they've got the number 7 there.
Number 7s.
They've got the number 7 there. It's the number 9. Now, I've been sort of doing a little bit of thinking. Well, who's number 9 on the market? There's not many 9s either, but they're all captain. He comes off the bench for you guys, a guy that we've just spoken about.
Cam, yeah.
Like, is that the move?
Yeah, well,
is that? I know obviously you're not going to talk about that, but is that the move?
That's why I just was like I led into it. So there's still a lot of water to go under the bridge yet with that, because, from a club's perspective, you're exactly right. They can't come out of that situation with a loss, like losing their captain and one of their best players.
They've got to have. Well, for me, Flano needs to get in there like now and start working on the ID of this organisation, not the team, the organisation, what this club is going to stand for moving forward. I hope he has been given pretty much full autonomy.
See, this is where because one of Flano's strengths is underrated. He hasn't really got acknowledged of it over the years. His ability to recruit and understand. Once he has his group together and he gets training and the style of play and everything, he has a real good understanding of the balance of a team, not just how they play on the weekend, but personalities too, to get in to really elevate the group to the next level. And for years at the Sharks, he was just added one player, added a couple of players here and there. And you know what it's like, not everyone's available at the right time, but the ability that when a player came onto the market that he thought would benefit the team or elevate the team to a higher level, he got those players. And it started from Jeremy Smith back originally when he took over the team, and then we had like the Todd Carney at the time, and then even Jeff Robson came in to fill a hole for a while, Mickey Gordon, Jimmy Maloney, like Matt Moylan, Jack Bird from the Valentine Holmes. Like, these are all young guys that Flano identified. So that's a real good skill. But for him to know what that squad needs and for him to execute that skill, he needs to be a part of the club. He needs to be down there every day and
just observing, not taking over now. But I think like I've said this, it's not even with due respect to Manly. It's not not with due respect. It's we're getting him now because we care about us. No more Mr. Nice Guy. We're not there to be friends and make sure we do things in the right manner. Flano needs to be priority number 1, needs to be Dragons 2024. That's the state that they're in. And I think not him getting his feet under the desk, but having those conversations, figuring what's going on there, figuring out his plan. I think he can get... I think there's a number of players there that aren't playing to their potential that Flano can tap into. Jack Baird is one of them. Jaden Sewer is another that probably aren't at their high standards that they're capable of. I think they'd admit that themselves. There's a few others. Zach Lomax is another one, and then scouring the market. And I'd be knocking on Cameron McInnes's door saying, "Mate, we're desperate for you to come back."
Well, you've definitely nailed it with the, it's going to be a situation that moves like for a while, but they need to try and make, if they are going to contemplate letting him go. Well, they need to make it turn to their advantage. And
make it like the club.
It's an opportunity.
Obviously, the Red V fans are very passionate, like all fans, but they don't want it to be like, oh, how did you let him walk out? How did you let him leave? It's like, no, he wanted to leave. Screw him. It's us now. It's us against everyone. And Flano's got to drive that narrative. But huge news. Ben Hunt obviously wanting to go, but then Holbrook is... I never like to see coaches go. I know a lot of people who've worked with Justin Holbrook at St. Helens say he's a fantastic coach. I think he's done a really good job there at the Gold Coast.
I actually think Flano has a pretty decent relationship with Holbrook too. So I wonder if there could be an opportunity there because that's the first. Flano would be doing the ring around now, trying to source some assistant coaches for him. I actually got a little bit of mail that he might get a consultancy guy, Andrew Gray, head of performance, who used to work with us at the Sharkies.
Didn't he go to New Zealand?
He's over in New Zealand. I don't know if he'll come back full time, but he might help put together the performance program. And let me tell you,
didn't he design some?
He's the guru of the GPS.
He started the GPS.
Yeah. Well, he didn't start the GPS. He was the first one to really crunch the data and being able to work out how to use the data to formulate, the really high-end, high-performance program. And I'll just say, like, if it's a rumor, it's a rumor. But if it's true, the Dragons can be happy with the guy that they've got. If he's putting together their performance program, you're going to have one of the best performance programs, going. So even if he was to, Flano was to get him in just to build it, teach someone how to run it and monitor it, and just consult with this guy. Like he is the bee's knees, Andrew Gray.
Well, that's exciting things for Dragons fans to hear. But I think that just about wraps us up for Midweek Matters. We've talked a lot, especially about State of Origin. Huge fallout from that. But Wado, thanks for joining us, Midweek Matters, mate, and enjoy the bye round.
Cheers, mate. Anytime.
No, mate, enjoy the bye round.
Well, I've got the bye round this week. It's like part of the pub.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I just want to come in for Midweek Matters after the second Ashes test, and we can dissect that.
All right, we'll see how England get on. All right. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll catch you during the week.